How old were you when you competed the first time in the SEA Games?
Oh, I was 16. But I started karate mga about 10.
Kaya nga, 'di ba? So kung ma-approve yung law na 'yan, yung mga may talent at may capability na mga bata to compete, 'di ba? In a man's game. Kasi mga mama na kasama mo noon 'di ba? Yun na rin mga kalaban mo, mga mama na during that time. So, we take away the opportunity rin for these people to bring honor to the country and to achieve some great things also for themselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's episode. Diego Bandido guests Jereos, Chief Instructor, Karate Fitness Manila to talk about the martial map. So please get ready and ask your puppies to keep quiet. The Diego Bandido podcast is about to begin.
Okay, Mr. Ian Jereos, welcome to the show.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to the viewers then. Hi, Mr. Diego Bandido, Mr. Jigs Baarde, and welcome to your viewers. How is everything?
All good on my end. Sarap ng kape. The martial map.
Yeah.
So pag-uusapan natin ngayon 'yan, martial map. What does it really mean, 'di ba? I'll make an introduction to the topic. So, martial map, by that we mean three areas in the study of martial arts na hindi mo pwedeng hindi madaanan. Ito ang martial art itself, and ang ikalawa, self-protection, and ang ikatlo ay fighting. Sinabi ko na hindi pwede hindi madaanan, pero in reality pwedeng hindi mo talaga madaanan depende kung kung how you're introduced and how you are being taught and who is your instructor, coach, or in our case dahil karate tayo, sensei, di ba? Yan yung introduction, pero as you know, kanina I mentioned to you na merong interesting thing na maganda pag-usapan. And yun ang una kong tanong is not about the martial map. Ang una kong tanong ay how do you feel about the bill that some lawmakers wanted to pass about not allowing minors to compete in martial arts competitions?
Okay. Well, thank you for that question. By the way, just to give our viewers a little background, we're specifically talking about the House Bill number 1526, which was introduced by Representatives Alfredo Garbin and Elizalde Esco, both of, I think, Bicol. Ako
Bicol representative. I have it here.
Yes,
let me take a look kung ano yung nare-represent nila dito.
Yes.
Interesting kasi, when I saw this earlier, actually, medyo divided ako dahil, well, mas kumikiling ako sa it's na na I don't agree with it, and I think it's unnecessary. Pero tinitingnan ko rin yung I'm trying to look at yung side of let's say this bill gets approved. Baka merong or siguro hindi yung baka, mas maganda i-frame ko into a question. What good does it serve? 'Di ba? Yun yung yun yung mga thoughts ko kanina, but anyway, let me take a look, So ito, ako Bicol 'yun. Ako Bicol party list. So ako Bicol party list representatives yung sponsor nitong bill na ito. Ayan, no. They filed this bill,
Yeah.
I guess this is recent because this news I just saw this earlier this afternoon.
Nakalagay dito yung index
Ah.
is July 04, 2019, House of Representatives. It was received. But I think the discussion will be this Wednesday if I read the
Really? Yeah?
updates correctly. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, how do you feel about it?
Well, I have several questions for it actually. Number one, the very first one. Well, before everything pala, before I give my piece, well and good. It says there's explanatory note na ang gusto nila is to protect minors who are, what do you call this, who have no say sa pag-participate in these full contact competitive events. That being said, okay, ano yung data nila na to that that was based in crafting this bill? Ano yung, have they actually consulted with yung sports organizations? In my experience kasi, from my experience, sa martial arts mismo, specifically, let's talk about karate. A lot of purist karatekas, practitioners of karate, have been complaining about karate's, the world body's move, which is the World Karate Federation. The World Karate Federation's move to be included in the Olympic program. Bakit medyo ang daming ayaw doon? Because they feel that karate is being watered down. Now, yung purpose naman kasi nun is you have to take a look at the long view. The purpose of the Olympic movement or karate being practiced as an Olympic sport is to make it safer for everyone. Kaya nga you have a lot of techniques na medyo tinanggal nila, binanned nila outright because they can be dangerous and cannot be controlled. So what you're left with is medyo a limited repertoire of techniques, which by their experience and study will give you like a less possibility of injury. So therefore, the sport can be spread further, can be practiced more extensively across age groups. So yun yung purpose naman nila. It's to propagate actually the practice. That's specifically for karate. Now, the bill kasi kind of says na every martial art, every contact martial art is dangerous, inherently dangerous, and wala siyang it doesn't provide protection for minors. Ako, I've been teaching for 20 plus years. I beg to differ. Ang point nun kasi is, since we know that it's a martial art and it can be dangerous, the more precautions we take. And I'm happy to say that none of my students or any other karate students actually I've seen in my 20 years of experience, in practice lang mismo, okay, have experienced yung very debilitating injuries na yun, or any injuries for the fact. Now, with the modifications for the practice of sport karate nowadays, you can see a trend, a downward trend na actually halos wala ng injury. You rarely have incidents of injury. Nagiging palamuti na lang yung medical staff sometimes.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How old were you when you competed the first time in the SEA Games?
Oh, I was 16. But I started karate mga about 10.
Kaya nga, 'di ba? So kung ma-approve yung law na 'yan, yung mga may talent at may capability na mga bata to compete, 'di ba? In a man's game. Kasi mga mama na kasama mo noon 'di ba? Yun na rin mga kalaban mo, mga mama na during that time, 'di ba? So, we take away the opportunity rin for these people to bring honor to the country and to achieve some great things also for themselves, 'di ba? Kasi ano yan it the experience and the joy is priceless 'di ba? Plus your yung the confidence that it gives you to be able to compete and be the best, diba?
Yes.
Be one of the best.
Which brings me to my second point actually. It will deal a very debilitating blow to the Olympic movement, to the talent acquisition ng Philippines. We have been as a nation medyo starved for that Olympic glory din. Ang point nun is, most of these winners na sineselebrate nyo sa Olympics, they don't start out as adults, as 18. They don't start out at 18. They start at very young ages, 5, 6, 7. Then they slowly build up. Let's say, for example, the model of Japan, the world leader in karate technology. Their world champions actually start from as young as 3. Then
Correct,
move
correct.
up and move up and move up. They keep switching and changing yung mga clubs nila until eventually, when they do get to that competitive level, which is, mind you, grade school pa lang, nag-international na sila. Ganon ka-competitive ang level nila because they started so young.
Mm.
You end up with world champions na grade school pa lang. High school, pag sinabing when in karate, ang kinakatakutan usually na mga teams dyan is Japan. Bakit? They know that from the very young age pa lang nag-start. Very matindi ang grassroots program nila. Now, if the bill passes, if it becomes law, you take away a lot of that portion, a lot of that talent. So, what?
I get you. What happens is for the powerhouse athletes, or let's say
Yes.
the powerhouse countries with these athletes,
Mhm.
the athletes make their bones when during the time that they are minors, diba?
Exactly.
Diba?
Development.
So that developmental period, you take it away because they cannot compete. So if you expect them to start competing at 18 years old, which is supposed to be the time that they start peaking in terms of athletic skills, mahuhuli tayo.
Exactly. At saka isa pa, based on sports science din. Okay? Usually ang best ages to start training in any sport, let's just disregard na kung combat sport yan, full contact yan, the best age to start training in sport, based on sports science, is about like 7 to 10 years old. Again, ulitin ko yun 7 to 10 years old. And when you start training potential talent who are like 7 years old to 10, ang nagpipik yan mga 16 to 18. Then afterwards, medyo it's pretty hard to like maintain that peak. Okay? Mga maximum performance age nila would be around like in their 20s, middle 20s, late 20s. Now, imagine, we can say goodbye to that if the bill passes, because what? You legal lang to start competing 18 or what? Kailan na sila magte-train? 16. Medyo pa-peak na yun eh. And dun pa lang sila mag-umpisa. You're way behind the race. Imagine mo yung flexibility mo has not been developed. Imagine mo yung coordination mo has not been developed. Imagine mo yung dexterity mo has not been developed.
I think more than the physical ability. I think it's really the mental toughness na hindi mo ma-develop. Kasi if you cannot compete, you miss out on developing, not just physically. Physically kasi you can develop that in practice eh. Pwede naman kahit walang competition, di ba? Pero on the sports side, you need to experience actually competing in front of a large crowd, actually having that pressure of
exactly.
Feeling ba na na there's something at stake, na important.
Exactly.
Diba? All those things, di ba? Competing with someone who is not from your dojo or circle or community, someone you don't know, merong element of mystery. Therefore, may kailangan mong humatak o humila ng konting tapang deep within because merong element of unknown. May mga ganun. Those are all factors because walang familiarity. Diba? So, mas yan mas it adds to the possibility of a fear factor. So that one, like, and yung banggit ko, like the crowd and the playing for something at stake, which is important. yung mga ganung bagay, without competing, you miss out on those.
And one more thing, they actually want to regulate pati yung training.
Really?
yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, they actually want to regulate pa yung training.
Which brings me now to the question, why do they come up with these things, diba? With these ideas? Diba? Why, diba? What is the what triggered this? Mabuti sana kung let's say, alam mo yung mga batas na pinagmulan niya, let's say nagkaroon ng issue, nagkaroon ng sakuna,
Yes.
diba? Tapos nagkaroon ng investigation in aid of legislation, and then
Exactly.
nagkaroon ng legislation, diba? To address issues. Ito, ano ba pinanggalingan nito?
Kaya nga my first question there is, what was their data? Ano yung basis nila? Ano yung like dangerous precedent dito? That's why they had to come up with this bill. Diba? Ang point nun is, for comparison and contrast, no, I even see minors na, with all due respect naman to all, there are a lot of responsible gun owners, no. Let me say that first. But I can even see in social media there are a lot of Filipino minors holding guns and shooting, which is I don't think that's legal. But di ba? Why martial arts? Yun yung tanong ko. Di ba? It has been practiced for a very long time safely. And that's the point. When you talk about competition, let's just limit the discussion to competition. In order for something to be accepted dun sa like sa program ng Olympics or any sports body for that matter, it has to be practiced safely. Kaya nga we have like protectors, vests, helmets na eh. Yun yung point eh. And one more thing, you have to take a look at the bigger picture again. Competition, yes, there is competition. It's a small part of martial art, yes. But it's also a way of pressure testing. It's a vital way to develop your skills. Imagine, martial arts are there to protect lives. Yun yung point eh. It's not there to like bash some other person's face in or subjugate other people. No. Modern martial arts as practice is to...
Pupunta tayo mamaya sa diskusyon na yan, martial map, di ba? Martial arts, self-protection, fighting. Kasi magkakaiba yun, di ba?
Yes.
A lot of people don't understand that. So it's going to be quite an interesting discussion also.
For when you practice martial art as a competition, again, you're pressure testing your skills for the purpose of maintaining the effectivity of your skills, maintaining the sharpness of your skills, so that when you do need it for life and death protection, personal protection situations, you can move your body effectively in the way you want it to. Yun yung overall purpose why we have competitions. It's a way to train. Then,
of course.
Take that out, then you take a vital component of martial arts.
Although in the sports version of martial arts, syempre, tulad ng pinag-uusapan natin kanina dyan, hindi yan yung pure. So,
yes.
Importante rin na na malinaw dun sa nagtuturo at dun sa estudyante or dun sa athlete kung ano yung differences. Otherwise, baka malito siya, and when it comes to the self-protection part, baka meron siya mga gawin na na baka hindi masyadong practical, tapos maapektuhan yung efficiency niya or effectiveness in protecting himself or his loved ones, di ba? But I'm getting ahead yata of the discussion. Andito pa tayo sa sa bill na final, di ba? But it's really interesting to know what they really have in mind. Halimbawa, yung sa nabanggit mo na gusto nilang pakialaman yung training, di ba? How do you do that, di ba?
The question is who? How?
Yes. Who, how. And again, I don't know kasi the people behind it, di ba?
Mm.
There are some lawmakers who happens to have a martial arts background, di ba? Halimbawa
Exactly.
si Miguel Zubiri sa martial artist.
Manny Pacquiao, you have
Manny
Pacquiao.
Pacquiao. Di ba? Pero etong sponsor nitong bill na to, we don't know, di ba? We don't know them naman di ba? So it's interesting to really understand some more. Pero nga ba nung listahan na binigay nila doon, talagang lahat ng martial arts.
Yes.
Nakita mo ba yung listahan? So
Yes.
pati fencing nga yata, kung di ako nagkakamali. I'm not sure about fencing, pero you have karate, you have arnis.
Yes,
Diba?
damay ang arnis, which actually is kind of strange because there is, it has become law na arnis is the national sport and martial art. And with that, grassroots
Great.
development yun. And what do you have with grassroots? Again, you start from the youngest level, yung schools. So I don't know how that will work exactly if that bill actually becomes law.
Ang nabanggit pa ng mga martial art doon ay yung judo, taekwondo, sino ba yun? Naalala ko yun kickboxing
Yes.
is also there. Boxing, I'm sure. Di ba? So, ayun, siya. It's quite wide in scope. Di ba? Pero alam mo, personally, tingin ko, it's not going to prosper.
Probably. Ako,
I have a feeling Kasi, well, sa isang banda, kanina sinabi ko, naisip ko rin, baka naman may positive side, baka may mabuti, no? Pero ano nga ba, di ba? I was trying hard to think about the positive side. Bakit kailangan gawin yon? Ang naisip ko lang is if you're not looking at it as a sport, yung martial map natin kanina, martial arts, fighting, self-protection, actually wala nga doon yung sport Di ba? Kung isipin mo, martial arts as a sport is a totally another area in the martial map. Di ba? Kung titingnan mo. Pero yun nga, kung hindi mag-compete, yung mga mga sanctioned by athletic bodies like yung meron yan may mga National Sports Association yung mga yan, di ba? Bawat martial art. Kung hindi man mag-participate sa competition yung mga minors. By the way, ang 18 years old ba minor pa? Hindi na, no? Pag 18, legal na yun. Yeah. But yung mga minors, kung hindi sila mag-compete, what happens is, yung martial art actually hindi dapat maapektuhan Yung aspect na yun. Sport lang naman maapektuhan kasi in the dojo, kung kayo assuming kasi hindi ko alam na yung training papakialaman. Assuming di papakialaman training. The training in the dojo is harder than the sport di ba?
Yes, exactly.
Kasi yung training sa dojo, yung tinuturo doon is yung more on the martial part, which is the art of war, di ba? Hindi mo siya wino-water down to be acceptable for public consumption So, whereas halimbawa, karate, meron kayang eye gouging, you can hit the throat, you can hit the groin, you can break the joints, di ba? There are throws. You can kick with the ball of the foot, di ba? With the heel, you can instead of simply sweeping on the ankle, you can do a low roundhouse to the knee, yung mga ganun.
I don't exactly know how that will work if they do decide to actually regulate quote unquote training. That's kind of a broad thing. So how can they distinguish? We're training not to compete. We're training just to study the art. So how do they actually know which is which? Sino yung mga resource person nila? Ano yung data nila? Again, go back to the data. Why are they pushing for this bill? What's their data? What's the dangerous situation na gusto nilang iwasan? Yun yung point eh.
Yeah. Pero
Too much regulation sometimes is not good.
yun nga. Pero it's not good for the sport. Pero for the martial art, it doesn't matter eh, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I always knew when I saw the article that you'd have the same you'd have the same thoughts on that one if we break down the martial map on the sport, yes, pero martial arts hindi siya maapektuhan kasi you train the same way diba? Pero ang sports kasi importante rin sa sa nation building, di ba?
Yeah, exactly.
Yun lang, sana we don't take that away, di ba?
Meron pa nga yan. And one more thing, I may be speculating here, no? But the thing is, these sports bodies actually become recipients of funding from very large corporations, and this funding and this sponsorship becomes a large tax write-off for them. So it also benefits the large corporations to help out in sports development. It has been like that for a very long time yung partnership na yun. Now, if you put that into play, the bill into play, I don't know, i-disrupt niya yun, yung dynamic na yun. And I don't know how they're going to deal with that as well.
Right. That's another angle. Since you've trained from the time na, how old were you when you started training?
I started about like 9, 10, mga ganon.
Anong pinaka masamang injury na na-experience mo ever?
Pinaka masama would be like a very bad sprain, which is again self-inflicted.
Hindi, tsaka what's a sprain, di ba? Anyway, ng mga bata pa lang tayo, balat kalabaw ka na Hindi ka naman nasasaktan. Diba?
I would
pero,
say siguro.
I wanted to ask kasi baka may injury ka na hindi ko alam. Kasi ako naman, ang injury ko, nabalian na ako ng daliri sa kakasalo ng sipa. So,
and how old were you then?
I think, wala pa ako sa adult age group noon It was in a competition I think I was 16 years old.
16.
Ako
I
was 16 years old.
Other outside of yung sprain na yon, it would be siguro probably like a twisted broken nose. Pero again, I was like in my 30s na noon
Okay.
And
pero
the worst,
was that in training or in a competition?
That was not. More of training, actually. More of training.
Kasi training yan siguro kasi baka hindi conscious masyado sa sa control Karate as a sport kasi hindi naman siya full contact, titingnan mo. Kung titingnan mo nga yung yung bill, sinali nila yung karate, pero what they fail to understand is that ang karate hindi siya full contact pagdating sa sport.
Limited contact siya actually.
So kung hindi siya full contact, bakit siya kasali? Ang full contact lang naman dyan is boxing.
Yes.
Boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai. Taekwondo, hindi rin naman siya full contact Diba? At saka hindi. We have to identify the definition. We have to determine what we mean by full contact. Kasi kung may rules, lahat naman niya may rules Pero I think may hangganan yung rules. Halimbawa, MMA na na siguro siya yung pinaka loose sa rules, pero may rules pa rin. Kasi sport di ba? Hindi naman pwedeng hayaan mo sila magpatayan, di ba? Hindi naman tunay na away yan. So full contact ba siya?
Wala nga knockout sa karate.
Hindi, yun nga di ba? So what is full contact? So ano yung full contact?
Eto, sa kanila, based daw din dun sa bill, okay? And I'm reading it from an article I just found. It's a full contact sports was defined in the bill as, quote unquote, any sport for which significant physical impact force, whether deliberate or incidental, on players is allowed for within the rules of the game. It includes, but is not limited to, boxing, martial arts, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, judo, and various forms of full contact karate. So it's kind of broad Parang
halimbawa, paano yung jiu-jitsu na wala striking? Full contact ba yun?
Exactly.
Halimbawa yung arnis, nakita mo yung nila, yung gear when they fight.
Yes,
When
full
they compete,
headgear. Full headgear,
diba?
full padding.
Diba? So ang laki nun laki ng padding diba? Tapos hindi naman tunay na stick ang ginagamit, diba? Meron ding
Padded sticks din
precautionary
sila.
diba? Padded stick, right?
Oo.
So full contact ba yun? So isa pa yun di ba? So
It's big.
which brings us back to the context, di ba? Bakit natin ginagawa ito? Di ba? Anyway, interesting. Let's see what happens, maganda subaybayan di ba? Tingnan natin kung ano mangyayari.
Ayun, I just got a message from actually Mr. Richard Lim, the president of Karate Filipinas Sports Federation Incorporated. They have a congressional hearing on Wednesday.
Really?
Yeah, for this billing, for this bill. Now, well, good luck to them. To the
good
viewers,
luck, diba?
Medyo biased ako, syempre, because I'm a martial artist.
Oo.
But,
tsaka whether you're biased or not, I think and this is my this is just my opinion. I think any reasonable person would see why medyo a little too much to have that ban. It's like banning minors for competing. I think what we should look at instead is yung regulations in actual competitions. But the problem with that is hindi ka naman pwedeng gumawa ng sarili mo regulations sa Pilipinas tapos halimbawa karate, yung local sports commission of for karate will have to follow international rules of the sport. Otherwise, if you don't practice with the international rules of the sport, how can you win when you go outside the country, di ba?
Plus isa pa, the Olympic movement is very, very jealously guards its independent from any government regulation kasi. Kumbaga, they have to be free. Yeah, they have to be free from any government regulation. And the point is, they do this for the health of the citizenry. Also, youth development din. Ang point nun. Notice mo the sports that start to aim for Olympic inclusion, or let's go a little smaller. Any sport that tries to include itself sa SEA Games, Asian Games, and of course the big one, Olympics, have notice mo they go through this transformation from very raw, almost quote unquote full contact na engagements to almost you can see the transformation visually, yung physical transformation nila. More pads. They start to use the green, the red and blue contender marks. Okay, you have the blue side, you have the red side now. You have a lot more paddings. Sometimes nga they eliminate a lot of techniques which can over time and because of yung past experiences have proven will result in a lot of injuries. They tend to push that out and tend to stick with the more controllable techniques. So that the sport, although it's safe, it still is spectacular. And that's the point. Yung sustainability nito, how can you practice it sustainably and safely for across all age groups? For example, for karate nga, for the cadet and junior levels, sometimes sa world stage, they even require masks. Meron nga half masks na ngayon But aside from, again, gloves, vest, shin guards, foot guard. Ang daming padding nun.
Tama.
So, yeah.
Let's see what happens. This can have a huge impact on
yes, definitely.
on martial arts, diba?
I hope they study it well because if again, the danger here is, and danger talaga, because if that becomes law, you take away like a huge talent pool from the Filipino people.
Correct. Magaling pa naman tayo dyan. Diba? Kasi this is one of the sports where we really where we really have talent. We can say we're a natural when it comes to to martial arts eh.
Combat sports,
Diba?
yes, Pinoy. Magaling ang Pinoy dyan. Now, you cripple the nation's effort if you do that.
At saka yung yung propagation of the sport side mismo di ba? Which is also a propagation of the martial art because yung sports is actually a promotional outfit of the martial art.
Exactly.
Diba? So it's the whole thing that gets affected. It's the martial arts that gets affected.
And one more thing. Sorry. And one more thing pala. When you keep practicing that, notice mo yung mga sports ngayon, combat sports especially na nasa world stage, they're actually safer than they were like a decade ago. Bakit? Because they start to, because of regulation then, because of yung pag-update nila, yung sa world sports governing bodies nila, they start to incorporate like the latest like sports science technology, the latest coaching technology, and kasama na yon for karate. They actually have programs na for you to be licensed as a coach. You have to attend a coaching course. Kasama na doon biomechanics, proper training, nutrition, some nutrition, proper coaching, updated. Hindi na yung tipong, I feel like, ito yung ginagawa sa tradisyon. Hindi. It's based on science na. And they update the knowledge. So most of the licensed coaches now, actually, they have access to safer bodies of knowledge na, safer technology, which has an effect of prolonging, number one, avoiding injury, and prolonging the peak competitive life of their talents, of their athletes. Yun yung point eh.
So I guess we can say na we are at a stage of development in the sports aspect of martial arts na medyo mature na yung safety measures because it's been institutionalized for a very very long time, decades. The sport version of the martial arts has been there for a very very long time, and we and there is a consciousness to make sure that it can be conducted in a way that is safe, so that there is sustainability, and we can attract more people to get into martial arts, or we can introduce it to more people, di ba? So yeah, I think we can say that we can have. I think that statement is safe. It's di ba? It's safe to say that.
Yeah.
Di ba? Let's move on to the martial map, Kasi alam mo, when I called you and I said I wanted to do this podcast with you, ang original na gusto ko pag-usapan is yung martial map, because I happen to to enjoy. I enjoyed the podcast episode that you shared with me, yung kay Ian Abernethy, on the martial map, Although again, like what I mentioned earlier, I think kulang yung martial map niya. He said there's martial arts, there's fighting, and there's self-protection, but I think there's the sport also. Yun yung tingin ko. Pero actually, I wanted to talk to you about it because I wanted to know your thoughts about it. Ano ba sa'yo ang tamang martial map, at if ako, I agree naman doon sa tatlo. I just wanted to add the sport aspect. And if you also agree with the three aspects there, how do you define it? or how do you look at it? What is your attitude towards each of those aspects?
Hmm. Well, first
Di
up,
ba?
just a little background there. Si Ian Abernathy is a seventh Dan black belt of the British Combat Association. And for those outside of the karate world, he's known for actually breaking down a lot of katas or forms that we have in karate, and
Hmm.
studying reverse engineering and trying to research kung ano yung more effective application niya for combat purposes. Now,
Hmm.
and dun siya he goes around the world actually doing a lot of like seminars for this. We call this in karate bungkai, or
Hmm. Hmm.
more specifically bungkai means analysis eh. Okay? You try to analyze kung ano
Okay.
yung
Hmm.
kung ano yung purpose nitong technique. Why are you doing this strange motion?
Hmm.
What is that for? Is that like a peacocking? Pang ganon? Okay, pang display lang yan. No. There's actually a purpose for that. And that's what Ian Abernathy likes to do. What is
Hmm.
this for? Okay? What is
Actually,
this for? Yeah.
ang galing niya. He's
Uh-huh.
I really enjoyed the episode.
Mhm.
Tsaka nakakatuwa kasi ang tagal na pala nung episode na yun. That was back in
Yes.
2011 yata ako daw nagkakamali eh.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I think it's going to be timeless yung
Mhm.
episode na yun because it brings a lot of insights. But,
Mhm.
ako, I'm just a student. I'm your student and hindi naman ako umabot sa ganyan level. I'm just a guy who's really interested in martial arts.
Mhm.
And I'd like to know your thoughts about it. So how do you define the martial map?
Okay. First of all, sa martial map, there are three circles, no? You have martial arts, you have self-protection, and you have fighting. Now let's define those three. Okay? Let's try fighting. Fighting is like, situation lang tayo. Umiinom ka, nasa bar ka, napaaway ka, for no reason at all. Okay?
Medyo naputol dun sa part na yun, ah.
Okay, sorry.
Can you repeat yung fighting?
Okay.
Naputol tayo doon.
Okay. And we have fighting. Okay. Just imagine, for example, nasa labas ka, kumakain ka sa labas, or you're having drinks with friends. Then napaaway ka. Napainkwentro ka with some other ruffian. Yun ang fighting. Okay? Whether you lose or you win, that's the basic definition of fighting. In engaging in a violent situation with an opposition. Yun lang
With the
yun.
intention to hurt the other guy, you know?
Yeah, or with him to hurt me also, or me to
Yeah,
hurt
that's right.
Yun yung
Hindi na fighting 'yon kapag hindi mutual eh. Di
yun.
ba? Either what do you call that? Kunyari isa lang, kung one way physical assault, ano?
Yeah. Now, here's one thing. Now let's go to the other aspect, which is self-protection. Self-protection may not necessarily involve fighting. Okay? It can be as simple as, for example, meron kang going home from work. Meron kang dalawang routes. One is a well-traveled route, very well lit. It will take you longer, pero maraming dumadaan doon, maraming police stations. Versus another route, which is shortcut, kaya lang madilim. Walang ilaw. And sometimes may naririnig-rinig ka minsan na may tumatambay doon or may mga criminal elements doon, or may na-hold up. Now, considering assessing that the dangers of whichever route you take is actually that self-protection. That's an aspect of self-protection. It doesn't necessarily mean that there is fighting involved. It's more of situational awareness. It's choosing the safest route. Okay, even like, for example, assessing. You go into a restaurant. Okay, nowadays, COVID. Okay? You go into like a restaurant. Although personally, I've never dined in since the lockdown. You go into a restaurant. You try to find the place na may at least that offers the most ventilation, which has an establishment which has the least people dining, or yung tipong mukha silang nagko-conform sa safety protocols. That's also an aspect of self-protection.
Correct.
One more thing, when you're driving around town, for example, it's knowing your rights. Then you get pulled over. it's knowing your rights din without any like raising your voice or trying to act like with all that bravado or mayabang and all. It's just knowing, yes sir, sir, sorry, alam ko pa yung rights ko. Sir, hindi nyo po ako pwede palabasin sa sasakyan ko. Pabuksan po ng trunk. Sorry po sir, but alam ko pa yung rights ko. Hindi ko po pwedeng buksan ng trunk.
Medyo tatamaan din natin yung mga ganyang aspeto, no? Lalo na sa
Yes.
Pilipinas where those things
Yes.
happen, di ba? Hindi lang naman dito, pero dito kasi nangyayari yan eh. Halimbawa, when the police come to your house, and then they would like to invite you over to the police station, you have the right to refuse it unless merong arrest warrant, di ba?
Yes.
The other thing is you have the right to refuse them to enter your premises and to search your premises unless there is a search warrant.
Yes.
Yung mga ganung bagay. Self-protection yun, di ba?
Yes. It's also as simple as, for example, going into like a business transaction na without tinatawag natin dito sa Pilipinas, black and white. That's self-protection also. You have like the written, everything is clear. That's self-protection. That's the practice of self-protection. So, notice mo, it doesn't necessarily have to involve fighting.
Kasi kasama rin yan kung sa halimbawa, ang daming napapahamak sa traffic altercation, di ba?
Yes, exactly.
Nag-end up nagbabarilan, di ba?
Exactly. Sabi nga sa Japanese Art of War, they had this example of a physician. Ang pinakamagaling na physician daw was hindi kilala because he treats the disease before it comes out.
Correct.
Okay? The second best physician daw would treat the disease in its peak. Okay? Yun, medyo kilala siya. Ang pinakasikat daw na physician was yung tipong talagang andun na yung sobrang lala na ng sakit. So, lahat na ng potions, inaano niya, lahat na ng potions, pinaprescribe niya, nagmamassage siya, lahat ng elixirs andun. Sikat siya. Pero, again, medyo critical stage na ng disease eh. So, ang most effective is even before the trouble starts. You identify, you address kaagad. So, that is the aspirational point ng self-protection.
Pero as a teacher of martial arts, yung self-protection concept, ano bang tamang approach para maituro rin yan? Kasi I do believe na hindi naman pwedeng yung martial art lang or fighting yung ituturo or the sport aspect. Kailangan tinuturo rin yan. Ang isang kasi dyan, ang isang medyo malawak na yan na area of the martial map kung pag-uusapan mo yan When you start talking about how to actually do that, one is knowledge, di ba? You have to know certain things, di ba? You have to know the law, ganyan, di ba?
Exactly.
Pero ang isang nakikita ko dyan, you have to be able to to control yourself, your emotions. Saan pumapasok yung doon? Yung
control
martial art, di ba? Kasi halimbawa, traffic altercation, di ba? To be a victim of your emotion and go out there and start cursing someone and fighting over a traffic incident, that's just that's just wrong, di ba? Pero alam naman ng tao na mali, di ba? Pero yung emosyon hindi niya makontrol.
Exactly. Actually, dyan pumapasok ang dalawang aspects. You have self-protection and you have martial arts. Pag sinasabi mong self-control, yun na yung sa martial arts. When we talk about martial arts naman, ang purpose nun is, in a broad way, is self-improvement. Kung ano yung limitations mo before, you try to go beyond that and improve yourself as a person, as an individual, as a citizen of your society, of your community, of your country. Yun yung point nun. So whether the expression is you practicing on your own, regularly, diligently, fastidiously, um, sa studio, sa dojo, or whether you compete internationally as a means to improve your own competitive
Mm.
or sports skill. Yan, diyan tayo mapapasok. Then it encompasses yung concept of that also is encompassed by the concept of martial art, which is self-improvement. Now, for the other one naman, let's take your example about yung traffic altercation.
Ano yan napaka-common kasi, di ba?
Sumasayad yan sa self-protection. What aspect of self-protection? If you want to be specific, that's called de-escalation. How do you de-escalate the situation? Kadalasan kasi ang knee-jerk reaction natin is to be defensive, is to be aggressive also. Pero the wiser way to do that is to de-escalate. There are actually courses or there are actually specific scientific methods to de-escalate things. Ikaw, nasa corporate ka, I'm pretty sure that, for example, sa mga trainings nyo, when you handle like a group or a sales team or an entire division, I'm guessing you managers also get trained in that, how to de-escalate yung stress of or
Okay.
confrontational
Oo, tama. It
confrontational
happens
employee.
Pero yun nga ang ano ko dyan, ang take ko naman dyan, I think it's too much to to ask for martial arts to be the cure pagdating sa ganyan. Because you're talking about someone else's disposition and attitude or lens on how he looks at interacting with other people and obviously even if you're a martial arts student practitioner, I think it's unfair to say na ang martial arts is the single most I don't know if yun yung claim pero syempre dahil yan ang pinag-uusapan natin, baka maging ganun yung yung impression kasi, di ba? But I think siguro we have to be fair in assessing self-protection as part of the martial map. In the sense na we cannot say na while there are ways in the martial arts training to develop that, may mga ibang bagay na walang kinalaman sa martial arts training na will develop your self-control, hindi ba?
Exactly.
Kasi the truth is ang self-control ng tao has a lot to do with the way he looks at the world and the way he looks at interacting with other people, di ba? Andiyan kung paano ka lumaki, naabuso ka ba nung bata ka, sino mga inidolo mo, di ba?
Yes, exactly.
Diba? Pero tinanong mo ako kung anong ginagawa ko when there are confrontational people. You're correct sa corporate maraming ganyan. Kahit saan naman. Pero basically nanggagaling yan sa mga out of insecurity When the people are insecure, they feel offended. When you're not insecure kasi why feel offended unless someone is very disrespectful outright. Siguro hindi offended ang tawag doon. Ang tawag lang doon, meron kang self-respect and you will uphold that self-respect. That's not insecurity. Pero for those na insecure, parang ganito lang ko diyan ang description ko. Kunyari, may ako lalaki ako, Tapos may grupo ng babae nagdaan, lumampas. Tapos as they were passing nagtawanan, 'di ba? Kung insecure ako, sabihin ko, loko yung mga yun pinagtatawanan ako. 'Di ba? Ano kaya nakakatawa? Pero kung di ako insecure, pwede ko sabihin na cool yung mga babae yun I think there's something in me that they like. Diba? Depende kung how you look at it Pero yun nga, may mga ganyan. Tapos when they interact with you, pwede maging abrasive, diba? Aggressive, diba? Ang dami ko na nakitang ganyan Tapos I'd be I'd be honest na ako, I'm work in progress.
Mhm.
I do my best to control my emotions, pero there are times
Mhm.
na I get into an argument also, di ba? Lalo na
Mhm.
dati, when
Mhm.
I was younger. Pero
Mhm.
ngayon, what I try to do, which I think is good to share here also,
Mhm.
is I try to tell myself na una-una, I'm just here to do a job,
Mhm.
di ba? And part of me doing a good job is to not be too emotional about something and try to gain more empathy towards my
Mhm.
coworkers, whether they are aggressive or not. And when I say gain more empathy, it leads me to ask questions with the objective of gaining understanding. Kunyari,
Mhm.
when someone disagrees and with what I say or what I want to do in the
Mhm.
office setting, and they are very let's say they are very uh they're very aggressive, ano, and to the point of to the point na other people in the conversation are baka na-offend na o kaya
Mhm.
natatakot na, 'di ba?
Mhm.
Feeling nila dinodominate na nung a certain person or certain set of people yung yung
Mhm.
discussion or yung meeting.
Mhm.
Um, Ako, what I do is I try to ask questions that will lead me to understand better where the reaction is coming from.
Mhm. Tama.
Diba? So that's what I do. But at the same time, I also look at the culture of the department, the people,
Mhm.
the company. And minsan kasi there are people na you have to talk to them in terms that they will understand. Otherwise, hindi kayo magkakaintindihan.
Mhm.
'Di ba? So may ganung aspect rin, 'di ba? Depende yan sa maturity ng kausap mo, 'di ba?
Mhm.
I hope I can always be more on the side na trying to gain understanding of where they're coming from, 'di ba? Because yun yung ideal. But in my experience, meron ding mga times talaga na you have to be direct. Minsan kailangan mo blankahin, minsan
Mhm.
you have to just put them in their place if it's
Mhm.
necessary. And I hate to do that, by the way.
Mhm.
I'm not very comfortable in doing that. But
Mhm.
I just find that there are times na I have to put myself in that situation. Pero
Mhm.
going back to what we are talking about, yung self-control, even if I have to resort to that way of managing a certain meeting, or a person or a group of people, I
Mhm.
think what's important is my emotions are in check,
Yes.
'di ba? Kasi even if I do that, I try to do it in a calculated way. But again,
Mhm.
it's not like I'm able to do that 100% of the time. Like what I
Mhm.
said, I'm still work in progress. Pero
Mhm.
that's what I do naman. That's what I
Mhm.
do.
Self-awareness and self-awareness and self-protection go hand in hand din kasi. So you can't be aware of your surroundings without being aware of yourself also. So I,
Yes,
I guess
yes, correct.
yung major takeaway
Oo.
natin dyan. Yeah.
Correct. Kasi self-awareness is important eh. Ano bang kakayahan ko? Saan ba
Mhm.
ako komportable, di ba?
Yes.
Saka sometimes, di ba, yung, alam mo yung kutob, di ba, you feel na parang may mali. Parang mas komportable na dito ako dumaan kaysa dito.
Exactly.
Yung mga ganung bagay. Parang,
Mhm.
ayoko kasama tong mga taon to. Kunyari,
Mhm.
halimbawa sa mga bata.
Mhm.
Halimbawa sa mga bata, no? I have a son, I
Mhm.
have a teenager.
Mhm.
And I have a daughter who's all grown up, 'di ba? So
Mhm.
I always tell them na they have to be smart when they go out and not
Mhm.
to allow themselves to be put in a situation where there will be risk. So
Mhm.
that includes having a good read of the people you're with, of your company. That's self-protection, hindi ba?
Mhm.
You don't want to be around people who are uh, attracting trouble, di ba? Anong halimbawa
Yes.
dyan? When you're young, or kahit hindi ka teenager,
Mhm.
every now and then we meet people, di ba, in social gatherings.
Mhm.
And let's say may alcohol, di ba?
Mhm.
Some people change when there's a drink, and we have
Yes.
to spot that early on in the social engagement
Mhm.
so that we can stay away from them.
Exactly.
Diba? Yung mga ganun. I think that's self-protection.
Mhm. Um, there are, you mentioned alcohol nga eh. Actually, meron akong mga kilalang before from experience din na pag nakainom, medyo they go into that other aspect eh, which is naghahanap sila ng fighting. So, yun yung high nila, which is kind of bad. So, going back to the self-protection aspect, once ma-identify mo kung sino yung mga taong yun, you try to avoid yung mga yung medyo undesirable behavior na yun once they've imbibed yung alcohol, because madadamay ka dun eh. So still
Actually,
situational awareness, yeah.
isa yan sa napaka-importante siguro para malaman ng mga isa siguro sa napag-uusapan dapat din sa dojo, kasi part of avoiding trouble is disassociating yourself from people who attract trouble.
Yes. Now, kanina, let me go back to yung earlier. I remember your earlier question. How do you actually kind of, if I may rephrase, no? How do you actually enrich the class in order to like encompass those three? Very simple, actually. Most martial arts classes dito just concentrate on, well, I would say martial art, as the art, refinement of form, proper biomechanics, who moves faster, who scores better. Yun eh, that's basically that's very technical.
Correct,
How do you enrich that with the other two naman?
That's the question, di ba? So
Uh,
how
how?
let's have that discussion. How
Oh,
do we do that?
self-protection is very easy. Just incorporate, for example, we've had this sa mga classes, yung discussions about situational awareness. You incorporate situational awareness lectures into your entire curriculum. One more thing, just to say, invite I know you guys have lawyer friends for our viewers here. Invite somebody to talk about like the legal aspects of self-defense. What constitutes a legally acceptable form of self-defense? Okay?
That's a good idea.
It's not like
Great.
going out, no, self-defense to, tapos ikaw pala yung nag-taunt. Wala yun. Okay, that's not even it. Okay? Now, for fighting naman, okay? Actually, fighting, the way yung sa martial map discusses it it is in its purest, most brutal form. Eh. So how do you do that? Sometimes you study yung bungkai. Bungkai. Not the good-looking, flashy bungkai, but the kind of boring looking, actually the most effective bungkai or applications of karate techniques look boring because they're not flashy. They're very small in movements. They're very subtle, and that's the point. You don't have to be flashy. You just have to be effective. So usually yung mga self-defense where usually ang instructor mo dyan o yung partner mo is all padded up, syempre para protection din siya, then you go all out. In martial art, in other martial arts, for example, I would like to refer to like yung arnis. They use a lot of this term eh. They call it pressure testing. So they have a lot of techniques, then they go, okay, let's use this technique. I will use this technique. You're my opponent. All out ka. I-pressure test natin kung effective siya sa totoong reaction. Hindi siya choreographed reactions, but natural, natural, random reactions from a violent individual. So yun yung point eh. You pressure test also. Yun yung point. But you do it safely. So that's how you can enrich your class with those three aspects. Okay? Right now kasi the trend is more like yun nga lang eh, there's this lean towards competition. So puro martial art aspect lang, scoring, scientifically what's the fastest point from A to B. Well and good. Well and good. That gives you a lot of dexterity. That gives you a lot of mobility. However, I have also had friends na medyo athletic sila before, and when it came when a time came that they had to use their karate in an actual altercation na unavoidable naman, na-notice niya, sabi, pare, parang powder yung punch ko. Kasi bakit?
Mm.
He trained to score. He
Oo.
never trained to use his martial art as in fighting or in self-protection talaga.
Correct. O, tama yan. Yan yung nabanggit ko kanina na baka when it comes to a situation where you have to do to apply it in a fighting situation, di ba? You have to protect your life and you don't have any other choice, di ba? Or protect your loved ones. Baka malito ka at ang gamitin mo sa kaka-practice mo ng sport, magamit mo yung mga commonly used technique in sports that may not be practical in a real life threatening situation, di ba?
Historically speaking, the old karate masters would actually like make up their own. This was pre-safety gear times. They would actually make up their own safety gears and go around other dojos, sparring with other masters just to see and pressure test their skills. Tama ba tong technique ko? Ay, hindi pala effective. Okay, let's modify. Okay, based on yung pressure testing na nangyari. Yun yung point eh. They actually, theirs was a living martial art talaga because it wasn't like held up in a museum. They actually went out, tested it, parang tried real life, as much as a real life situation as possible. Although it can't be blamed because may aspect din dun eh. Ang nangyari, kaya medyo naging standardized ang karate, kaya medyo there's this emphasis on competition and sport, was a function of the desire to spread karate practice all throughout Japan and then all throughout the world. Yung point eh. Kaya we are in the situation that we are now. So it's good to also study yung history, how karate evolved into what we are practicing now, to understand na wait, medyo kaya ganyang form yan is because that's your that's your basic package. Okay. There's actually a premium package, but you have to take time to study that, and this is you need to research that. So yun yung point eh.
Interesting, Si Gichin Funakoshi when he moved out of Okinawa to go to Japan and start teaching and promoting karate. Was that the time that karate was watered down from the time na it was from the original version when it was being taught in Okinawa and passed on from generation? Can we say that? Is that something na is that a safe claim?
Medyo there's a gray area eh. Okay, for the viewers nga pala, Gichin Funakoshi is considered the father of modern karate because he's the guy who actually was the impetus for the spread of karate all throughout Japan and next din sa all throughout the world. Footnote lang, Gichin Funakoshi was really against having karate competitions before.
Oh, okay.
Ayaw niya ng karate competitions. It was his students who actually pushed na we have to start competing then to promote the art. Now, going back to your question, the old karate kasi was taught in very small dojos because there was actually no dojo before eh. It was like, kaya nga hall ang tawag doon eh. It was a house. You'd go visit your master, you'd go visit the house and like
actually, I've seen some before I forget. I wanted to say na I've seen some actual classes in Okinawa.
Yes.
Marami naman sa YouTube eh. Yung mga na-document nila, bahay lang talaga eh. Sa bahay na nagtitrain eh.
Bahay lang talaga. That was how karate was taught. And it was taught, mind you, one-on-one. Okay? Yun ang teaching dati nun. Usually the most that like a teacher or a master would take would be like 2 or 3 students. Yun lang. Later, nung nag-spread na, medyo they modified yung delivery ng classes, which accommodated for like 20, 30 huge groups. Yun na yun. So there had to be a fundamental shift in how karate was taught. Hindi yung, okay, master, pwede kang tutukan ng teacher mo na ikaw lang, tapos paulit-ulit lang for the entire session. Like, ang
Correct,
session
correct.
natin was less than an hour siguro, or depende na sa mood.
So
or
so
gusto
kung ganun, I can just imagine kung mag-Zoom classes ka, napakahirap siguro magturo kasi yung ano nga, yung original nga one-on-one, face-to-face eh.
Yes,
So ibig
exactly.
sabihin may mami-miss out ka kung face-to-face pero may tinuturuan kang 20 estudyante. Ano pa kaya kung nagzo-Zoom ka tapos 30 estudyante, di ba?
Yes. Plus, isa pa, definitely when you go yung ganong version, definitely may iwan dyan because you will only focus on the top performing students. Ay, ito maganda galaw, ito maganda galaw, ito maganda. Tinitriage mo sila eh. So, you only focus on yung, ito I think pwedeng i-develop pa to. The rest, sige, just go follow pa.
Pero speaking of Zoom classes para sa martial arts, I think maganda sa susunod we can talk about syempre we cannot share naman our methodology pero in principle and in broad strokes we can share siguro sa susunod na episode yung kung ano naman yung alternative na pwede gawin para hindi naman puro Zoom classes lang or Zoom group classes ang option ng martial arts instruction because I think we came up with a method na na effective di ba? At least siguro we can get to talk about some components so that those who are interested can have an idea.
Oh yeah. And I think from my years of teaching then I think it's the most unique. Actually, wala pa yatang ganon na I'm aware of dito sa country na ganong system, ang ganong approach. So, yeah, it would be exciting.
Well, it's very thorough, methodical, and very detailed. So, I'm really excited to talk about that also in siguro next month. We want to have, in the Diego Bandido podcast, we want to have at least once a month topic on karate and martial arts, diba? And have you as a guest. So maraming salamat for for accommodating yung idea ko. Pero going back dun sa martial map. So kung iba ang fighting, iba ang self-protection, how do you define now kung ano yung martial art? Tinanggal mo na yung fighting eh. Yung iba tingin nila yun yung fighting. Martial art is learning how to let's say do a karate chop, diba? Learning how to sweep the leg. Put him in a body bag. Hindi kasali. Pero basically, yun yung di ba? Yun yung idea ng karamihan, di ba? So self-defense, self-protection yun eh. Kung tinanggal mo yun, mag-iba pala yun sa martial art. Ano yung martial art? Martial art ba is like dancing? Yung kata, yung ba yun?
Martial art is actually more technical. It's a more technical way of approaching combat. Okay? Sino yung ang principle think of it this way. Ang katawan ng tao para siyang kotse. Okay? Para siyang vehicle. Ang kotse can only go as far as yung laki ng kanyang gas tank. May capacity yon. So imagine all of us are like one model cars. Lahat tayo may certain pare-pareho lang ang gas tank natin. Martial art teaches you to maximize yung distance that you can reach. While using the same amount of fuel. Whereas sometimes fighting, yan yung mga tipong imagine nasa traffic ka. Rev ka ng rev. Tapos hindi mo alam kung ba't ka ng rev. Wala lang, I just feel like it. Tapos yung tipong pag go, biglang accelerate, tapos mag-stop, todo preno. That's a waste of your energy. That's inefficient expenditure of energy.
Pero that's hindi ba yan? Hindi ba yung dinedefine mo na aspect of martial art is what you also use if you're a martial artist and you had to resort to fighting. Diba? Kasi yung mga techniques na yun, Doon ako nalilito kasi and
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you about it eh.
Mhm.
If you talk about yung mga techniques like how to properly throw a punch, di ba?
Mhm. Mhm.
How to in the most efficient way possible,
Mhm.
di ba? Speed, power, ganyan, di
Mhm.
ba?
Mhm.
Yun na lang, yung pinaka-basic na example, how to throw a punch, di ba?
Mhm.
If you throw the punch in a fight, di
Mhm.
ba? For fighting,
Mhm.
according to how it's taught technically
Mhm.
in karate, 'di
Mhm.
ba? Yun yung ano niya, fighting aspect ng
Mhm.
karate.
Mhm.
Pero kung tanggalin natin yung yung technique, ano yung martial art? Ano siya exactly?
It's also a way of hindi lang yun, it's not only the punch eh. It's the person that throws the punch also kasama yung training doon. It's yung mentality mo. Like for example, okay, let's clarify ko muna ha. Martial arts was designed, specifically karate, or well, actually any Japanese martial art nga pala,
Hmm.
was designed against not a skilled opponent, not another karateka, but a violent ruffian. Yung unskilled, violent aggressor. Yun yung point. So kumbaga sa kanila may violence lang sila pero wala silang skill. There's intent to harm coming at you pero wala silang skill.
Hmm.
Karate or any Japanese martial art is meant to counter that. Wala kang skill, so therefore, I know how to effectively counter, pacify you. Now, kasama yung sa punch. Saan pumapasok ang martial art doon? It also affects the person eh. Number one, you cannot throw the punch if aggravated ka rin or agitated ka rin. Because that kind of narrows your field of vision eh. That blurs your clarity. So you have to have like a calm mind. Yung sinasabi na nila, warrior's mind, calm mind.
Correct.
Okay.
I cannot, yan ano yan. I think medyo malinaw sa akin yan kasi you get that through experience din eh in ano eh
Yes.
when you practice sparring halimbawa with in during training sa simula and even competitions in the sport aspect kasama siya kasi
Mm.
when you're a newbie and you compete the first few times
Mhm.
nai-stress ka, kinakabahan ka. But
Exactly.
then, yung continuous training just teaches you to apply whatever it is you have learned, whatever it is you have trained for.
Mhm.
It teaches you to stop thinking too much and to
Mhm.
just be in the moment. So kahit anong kaba mo, for as long,
Mhm.
pwedeng kinakabahan ka right before it begins eh. Pero
Oo.
the martial art training in our case, and in my case, karate
Mhm.
training teaches you na when the fight begins, whatever it is in your emotion, in your head, you calm it down, you bring down the noise, and then you just focus in the moment, and so that you can execute what you need to do based on what you know and what you have trained for.
You just focus on your breathing. Tama ka nun. You focus on your breathing. Bakit?
Hmm.
That's called parang positive distraction eh. Yung the others naman are irrelevant eh. They will not disappear pag pinansin mo sila. Pero what are the factors that you need to focus on that will help you perform better? Breathing, it's something you can control eh. Okay? One more thing based on breathing. Here's one perfect example sa aspect ng martial art. As simple as during class. Usually, you do a lot of basics, paulit-ulit hanggang mapagod kayo. Pag napagod ang tao, what happens? Di ba you lose your breath, you start doing this. Ngayon, pag lumala pa yon, what's the first instinct? You're standing up, di ba? You're doing your drills. What's the first instinct that comes over you pag if you start to lose your breath? Is it to stand up straight or to do this, to slouch over?
To slouch, that's easier to do.
It's easier to do, di ba? Now, there's a thing in training na tipo, maski gano'n ka kapagod, maski sabing ko, puputok na kunyari baga mo. Eh? you still maintain a ready position. Or in karate, what we call yoy.
Yoy.
Always ready ka. No matter na maninilim na paningin mo or hingal na hingal ka or you feel na it's very difficult to breathe na, you maintain the yoy. You develop that habit over time, then it takes over you. So nagiging habit na siya, maski pagod ka, yun yung papakalma mo. Now, move outside of that person to somebody na who just sees that person. Ang effect nun is you create an impression na ano ba to, hindi napapagod. Makina. Parang hirap i-ano nito, kalabanin na to. Para matibay ito.
Pero actually, trained lang siya na gawin yun. Pero hindi ibig sabihin, hindi siya napapagod.
Exactly. Now, let's translate that into a fighting situation. Okay? You never, again, sabi nga ni Sun Tzu, all art is war is based on deception. So you should never show your opponent your true situation. So masingal na yan, will this help your situation? That will not help your situation. But if you remain calm, even if pagod ka, hinihingal ka, kinakabahan ka, and you just do what you need to do.
Correct. Yun eh. You just do what you need to do regardless. Pagod.
Exactly.
Kahit ano pa, masakit. Hindi importante yun. Ang importante, you do what you need to do.
Okay. There are a lot of factors. People taunting you, blah, blah, blah. Minumura ka ng aggressor mo, which you have no way out. Okay? Let's define the situation. No way out ka talaga. Tapos like may bote na siya. May basag na bote, talagang intent on hurting you. You have no way out. No one is trying to help you. And the only way for you to get out of the situation is to, number one, neutralize the attack, neutralize the attacker, and get out as quickly as you can. Okay? Wala ka ng way out talaga eh. So, okay, all those people taunting you, they're irrelevant. Yung pinagsasabi niya, that's irrelevant. What's irrelevant is the weapon that he has in his hand. So yun lang. You focus on your breathing, you focus on what needs to be done, which is ito. So, then, with that in mind, because of your martial arts training, just choose the most effective technique. Ano kayang shortest dito? What technique can I use that will end this encounter in the fastest way possible and most effective way possible? Boom! Done. That's where your martial arts comes in. Training. Compare and contra. If it's fighting lang talaga, yung sa other martial map, yung other part ng martial map. If it's fighting, ito-taunt mo rin sila. Lusob ka lang without, gusto mo lang manakit. Without consideration or regard for what your opponent, yung most dangerous implement na hawak ng opponent mo, aggressor mo, which is the weapon. Yun. It's fighting. That's moving without using your head.
Yeah, I get you. How about kata? Anong lugar niya sa martial map? So, sa self-protection siguro wala, no? Pero I don't know, baka meron, correct me if I'm wrong. Pero sa fighting, obviously kasi meron siyang bungkay or application. Pero sa art side, ano naman ang niya? Anong lugar niya doon? Yung art ba na yun is well, it's like a dance in a way. You can look at it that way. Doon ba siya pumapasok as an art? Anong lugar ng kata sa fighting and sa martial art?
Actually, nag-overlap yun eh. Sometimes kasi yung fighting and yung martial art, they overlap. Okay? And now to answer your question, anong lugar ng kata? Let's discuss martial art first because yung pinakamadali. Sa martial art, it teaches you, number one, dexterity. It trains your spatial skills. Where is your body in relation to the space? Can you are you able to identify yung line of attack? Okay? Yung line of attack ng opponent mo, and are you able to identify your own line of attack? Okay? Can you move your body effectively out of the line of attack? Okay? Can you actually do a counter? Can you counter attack while your body is in an awkward position? Kaya notice mo you have your katas na medyo awkward na position na yan. Yun yung point eh. It's training you to even throw a counter attack na maski what do you call this? Compromised yung iyong vertical position.
Balance,
Like for
ganun ba?
balance. Oo. You're supposed to actually dapat maski ano mangyari, the training of kata is you have to maintain your balance no matter what your body position is. So you have to be aware of where your body is in space and time. Yun yung point.
So
Even if
kahit
I tilt like
awkward,
this,
mukhang awkward, kailangan yung balance andun.
oo, pero doon pa rin. It's again, it's deception. Deception. For example, Manny Pacquiao. Yeah. Everyone knows Manny Pacquiao. May time nun, actually, yung pinipress ng kalaban niya, yung ulo niya pababa. So, hindi siya makasuntok. Akala ng kalaban niya lang yun, marunong siya sumuntok ng paikot. Maski nakababa yung ulo niya. So, for others, that would be an awkward position. Paano ba to? So, they try to fight in. Pero actually, na-neutralize siya ng kalaban. Manny Pacquiao, yung one of his good characteristics is that he can throw from very awkward positions. Yun yung point eh. Again, let's go back to
totoo yan.
The art of war is based on deception. Just because you're in an awkward position doesn't mean you can't counter or throw an attack. Yun yung point nun eh. I will show to my opponent na awkward yung position ko. Akala niya, wala yan. They're just evading. No, it's actually an attack. Set up lang yan. Yun yung point naman ng kata. It teaches you a lot of combinations. It teaches you to maintain balance even if your center line is medyo tilted. Diba? It teaches you to be aware of your body. I think it's called proprioception. Okay? Where your limbs are in space.
Mm-hmm.
Yun. It develops that. So that's what kata is. It also helps you discover yung mga combinations that are possible. Because sometimes, again, we have bias. We have technique bias. Oh, this is easy. So, ito yung go-to mo. Pag nalaman na yan, na-anticipate na yan, then, dali mo na neutralize. So, you have to have something unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
And kata gives you that avenue. Plus, one more thing. Kata is dati naman kasi, you have to look at it historically. Not everyone can write and read. So, kata becomes a mnemonic, a way to remember techniques.
Correct. Tama. Kasi ano siya, nagkaroon ng sequence no? Nagkaroon ng pattern. If it's a pattern, it can easily be passed on from one generation to another, from one student to another. The student becomes the teacher, and then the teacher has students, and then so on and so forth.
What's proof of that? You even see black belts na pag tinanong sila na students, how is this done? They can't outright say that ito yung next. They do this. One, then start moving their hands and their legs. That's how they remember it because yung naging ingrained na sa katawan nila.
It's a pattern. Yeah. Okay, how about the sport aspect? Do you think it's tama ba yung yung aking assessment? The martial map is there are actually 4 areas. You have self-protection, you have fighting, you have the martial art, and then you have the sport. In fact, pwede mo pa nga tingnan sa ganitong paraan eh. 3 siya. Merong fighting, merong self-protection, tapos merong sport. Tapos it's glued together by character development. All of it is what you call martial art.
Pwede. That's possible.
There are 2 things to there are 2 ways. As far as I'm concerned, those are 2 ways I look at it. Diba?
Well,
hindi ko lang ma-ascertain kung which of the 2 ang mas totoo for myself.
Well, that's possible naman kasi again, as with any martial art, it's a personal journey. So sa kanya, for example, si Ian Abernathy naman, he's very upfront about it na yung martial map na gawa niya yun out of like so many years of interacting with other martial artists. So yun yung na-distill niya na knowledge na.
Like what I said, I enjoyed the episode. His he's a very knowledgeable guy, a very deep
Yes. Oh.
understanding. It was enriching to listen to him, di ba? So, ako naman, sinishare ko lang kung ano yung thoughts ko.
Uh-huh.
Pero, syempre, I respect what he has to say because, di ba, sino ba naman ako to define the martial map, di ba? Ako, I'm just in awe of what the depth of understanding this guy has. And I also wanted to hear what you have to say because you are our chief instructor, and we would like to ako personally as a student of the art, I'd like to learn from you by asking you about the things I heard in the episode, diba? of Ayan Abernethy. Diba? So yun, I'm just one interested dude over here.
Well, actually, for that, I would like to quote this wise friend, this wise dude that I knew back in college. His name was, I think, Mr. Jigs Paarde, philosophy major back in Ateneo de Manila.
Philosophy major extraordinaire. Long hair and blue socks.
which he said na parang I never forgot that na sinabi niya, there are different ways kasi to the truth. There is one truth, but each of us take different paths. But again, the ultimate destination would be that truth. It can take several forms, it can take several detours, but no one path is correct. It's unique, but basta importante it's heading towards that destination which is the ultimate truth. So hindi ko makalimutan, and I guess that applies to this journey.
And with that, my friend, the next topic for the next episode is philosophy. No, just kidding. The next episode, we will still have you in the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
And we will have another guest. Diba? Surprise yan.
Yes.
Siguro i-announce ko a few days before. But since I will be having you as a co-host for that episode, syempre, tungkol pa rin sa karate at martial arts. Diba?
Yes.
Okay. Maraming salamat. Pare ko, tapos na tayo.
Sige,
1 hour, 30
Thank you,
minutes.
everyone.
Isa to sa pinakamahabang episode na I've had. Pero cool, di ba? I enjoyed it very much. Maraming salamat, pare ko.
Alright.
I-end
Thank you
ko na
very
yung
much.
recording.